Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Season Keepers, the show where the only two people we recommend keeping for the season is us. My name's Matt, aka Clean Sheet Wipeout.
My name's James, aka FPL Drug.
Welcome everybody to a brand new season of FPL, and as you can see, brand new graphics on the YouTube as well, thanks to our man Captain. And I don't know about you, James, but I think they're looking sharp.
Yeah, we're a lot prettier today.
Yeah, full on in our faces. Obviously, we've got the logos and whatnot, but I think it just looks far better than a Zoom call. So, for anybody listening that aren't subscribed to our channel, if you pop onto YouTube, type in the Season Keepers, should be able to find us. And yeah, we'd love your subscriptions, your likes. Let us know what you think. In terms of the way that the FPL show is going to go this season, obviously, we're trying to keep it purely focused on FPL for this pod. The basis is going to be we'll do our full kind of game week rundown, reviewing the games that have just gone by, what we thought of the games. We'll then take a look to the week ahead, maybe some players to target, maybe some fixtures that we think might be worth focusing on, and then we'll have a little bit of a captaincy debate at the end of the show before if we've got any questions, we'll answer them. So I think first things first, James. What a week it was to start, wasn't it?
It was a great week of football. Not for my FPL team, but but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll come on to that.
Yeah,
I think
the first two games in particular. I think obviously the game on the Friday night and then the early kickoff were great value to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't have really started any better, could it? And I suppose that's a good segue into the fact of we'll focus on the first fixture, and that was Brentford 2, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, I mean, it's debatable whether you can call this a shock.
Very true.
I wouldn't put anything past Arsenal, but I guess on the whole of it, you would have expected Arsenal to win this game. I mean, I wasn't expecting, say, Brentford to get battered or anything, but no. Obviously Arsenal got some good quality players, but obviously Brentford having that, obviously the new stadium, home fans in the Premier League for the first time. I think that's given them the edge.
Oh yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah, it looked incredible on the TV, and obviously they had the bit of the build up, going around some of the fans outside, and everybody just seemed buzzing. I'm pretty sure they interviewed one lady outside, and she was adamant that Tony's going to score about 35 goals this season. So that just showed like the ambition that the fans have got. And when I saw that Arsenal lineup, obviously we heard that both Lacazette and Aubameyang were going to be missing. It just looked like really weak in terms of an Arsenal lineup that we're used to seeing. And you genuinely thought, like, I was meshing a couple of friends, and we were all like, Brentford are going to do this. I thought, Brentford 2-1. I thought Arsenal might get a goal, but they were well worth the win. Like, I was really impressed, and to be fair, I didn't know a lot about this Brentford team other than the likes of Mbeumo and Tony, who I thought were brilliant, like, alongside each other to up top. But Canos really impressed me.
Yeah, a very he's a defender, obviously. Great pick for those that actually started the season with him. I imagine mainly Brentford fans, maybe a few people in the community punted on him. But yeah, I was very impressed with Brentford. It's actually quite impressed with Tony, even though obviously he didn't score. He was getting into a lot of good positions. His link-up play was quite good. He created quite a few good chances for other players as well. Which,
agreed.
Based on that performance, I'd expect him to get a decent amount of returns this season. So that was quite reassuring, really, watching him. And obviously, very impressive with Bruno, out of position, looked dangerous.
Oh, he did, yeah. He should have got at least 2 goals in that game. There was one, he completely did Ben White, didn't he? And then blazed it wide. But yeah, I thought he had a really good game. And Mbeumo is the type of player that, when we eventually do need to maybe load up on the more expensive strikers, the likes of Lukaku and Kane, who we'll probably touch on later, Mbeumo is maybe the type of midfielder that we might be looking to downgrade to, particularly if you may not have Tony in your team or you don't fancy the double up. And Mbeumo is obviously that little bit cheaper. If he's going to be playing up top and looks like he's getting the attack and returns, he could be ideal cover for Brentford's fixtures.
Yeah, perfect way to save some cash, which people are going to need one way or another, trying to get premiums in or obviously Smeekas is going to have to be shipped out eventually, in
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a good point.
people will need money.
Exactly. And in terms of Arsenal, did anybody take your fancy at all?
Um, not really. It was a bit of a shambles, really. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but you wouldn't be surprised if someone told you they were the promoted team.
No.
Yeah, just a bit toothless. I think this is like where potentially if they invest over the coming seasons, they'll look back on this team and be like, "Wow, that's the team we played." You know, like how Liverpool did a comparison
Yeah.
between Salah, Mane, Firmino, or whatever, and then compared it to like bloody Aquilani.
God, that's a name.
What's the striker? The blonde-haired striker. What was it, Voronin or? They just had a lot of players.
I think it might have been Vardy, yeah.
Yeah, random players that were not very good for Liverpool. No. I feel like it could be a similar story of Arsenal. Like, this is a very weak Arsenal team.
Agreed, yeah. The only player that really stood out for me, and I guess it's a name that we were all talking about pre-season anyway, was Smith Rowe. I thought he was the only one that tried to grab the game by the scruff of the neck occasionally, and like there was a couple of times I think he drove through that Brentford midfield. One where he kind of, took the chance a bit too early, I think, and scuffed his effort. But I think, for him, he was the only one I'd really look at. But I wouldn't be going near him at the moment because, he's a good player, but he's not good enough to drag that entire Arsenal squad. And I think there was a stat going around that obviously Arsenal did have 22 shots on goal, but they were chasing the game for long periods. So they're going to have to be taking pot shots and, trying to at least test that Brentford team. But not once did I think Brentford would concede.
No. And I mean, this is against Brentford. Like, what are they going to be like against other teams? Arsenal, against Man United, Leeds.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be tough, that's for sure. And, I mean, their next two fixtures are Chelsea and Man City, so it says it all. Right, moving on then to the first cracker of the Saturday. I was actually getting my second jab for the first half of this game, so I had you obviously texting me about Bruno, but Manchester 5, Leeds 1.
Yeah, a bit of a strange game. It was quite a good game, and was sort of highly contested at first. Obviously, United took the lead, closely followed then by a equaliser from Ayling, which was outstanding goal. He's finally scored.
Yeah,
it's an absolute beauty. Just takes a nice, decent touch forward, and it just allows him to just run onto it and smash it. And fantastic goal. But then for some reason, after Leeds scored the goal, they kind of switched off, and they didn't switch off once. They switched off a couple of times because Man United, I think it was 3-1 before we knew it.
Yeah, it went on an absolute riot, didn't they?
It was absolutely crazy. Bruno and Pogba had too much space.
Yeah.
Pogba was obviously very impressive. I don't think anyone really spoke about him much pre-season at all.
No, not at all.
He's 7.5 million as well. He's quite a good price.
It's gone up to 7.6 now.
That's not a surprise. I think he'd have gone up if he'd have just got 2 assists.
Yeah.
But to get 4 assists, that's going to be like, everyone's going to be casuals, experts, whoever. They're going to be jumping on him.
Big time.
Yeah, and Bruno, he's just shown his quality there and got a hat-trick, which, to be honest, I didn't see coming.
It's his first hat-trick for Man United as well, isn't it? So
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he's only scored like braces before.
To get that in your first game of this season, fair play.
Some statement and not one pen as well. So
No.
Sort of open play, I think. So credit to him. It's an excellent player, and I feel like I'd have had him in my team if he wasn't 12 million.
That's one of the reasons why I got him in, because obviously we had this debate at the beginning of pre-season, and I was very much to start with like the Bruno camp, that I wasn't going to have him and I could spread the funds elsewhere. And he's definitely not essential, because I've seen plenty of teams online that don't have Bruno that use the funds elsewhere, and they've also hit 90, 100 points. For me, I just didn't want to take that risk, so I started with Bruno and Salah and then built the rest of my team around it. And it means that I can kind of move off of him as and when I feel I need to, if I have to spread the funds, or I've got the choice of moving off of Salah. So the option's there. But I disagreed with, the debate online, I think, after the game, saying, well, those that have gone without Bruno, they've made a mistake and blah, blah. I saw a few tweeting that, and it was wrong, because there are teams out there that don't have him that did just as well. For me, he's an unbelievable player, and for once he finally showed that he doesn't need a pen to get returns, because he got a hat-trick, 3 bonus points, cleaned up.
Yeah, it's quite scary, really, because when I was looking at, contemplating getting Bruno in, this fixture was the one I thought maybe he won't get anything from against Leeds. And obviously, it's got Saints next. And
yeah.
Everything in my brain says he's going to get another double-digit return.
Oh, honestly wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, I'm not gonna bring him in yet. But hopefully, for our sake and my FPL team's sake, he doesn't do anything against Saints.
Yeah, well, he's another player that's had a price rise, so he's up to 12.1 now.
Yeah, so it would be even harder for me to try and get him in. But yeah, I think it would be too sort of reactionary for me to take a -4 straight off the bat.
Nah.
Just because one player has returned in the first week. I think for the first 4 weeks, you kind of got to just sort of see what's going on.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agree. And the other player, Man United aspect, that I was very impressed with, and again, we touched on pre-season, was Mason Greenwood, and the possibility of him playing up top was a real option, because obviously Cavani has come back late, and he's still, isolating after his international trip with Uruguay. So Greenwood was up through the middle and obviously took his goal exceptionally well. That kid has got a finish on him.
Yeah, fantastic player, and still pretty cheap in the game.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning.
Completely agree.
He's a mid as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very much an option at that 7.5 million price bracket. It's obviously him, Jota, kind of Rafinha. They're all within $1 million of each other. But Greenwood to start with, if people were on him, you've made, I think, a very good decision for at least the first 3 or 4 weeks, because he looks like he's probably ahead of Martial in the pecking order as well. And I saw that Man United were playing a friendly today. We're recording on Tuesday the 17th. They had a behind closed doors friendly with Burnley to probably give some other players some fitness, and Martial played in that one, whereas obviously the likes of Greenwood, Fernandes were all rested. So I think Greenwood probably starts up top again at the weekend. Yeah,
and it'd be a great pick for people. I didn't know about that behind closed doors friendly, but yeah, that's good for him.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then obviously on the other side, Leeds, I think quite a lot of us have at least started with one, maybe if not 2 of their assets. For me, I've got Ayling on the bench, and then I also started with Patrick Bamford. So seeing that Ayling goal was hilarious, knowing that he was never coming into my team, but for him to get his first goal, in a Leeds shirt in the first game of the season, bodes well, in fairness, and I'm quite happy to have him, given looking ahead to some of their fixtures. They've got a lovely run, to be fair, from probably game week 5 to game week 10. I think I'd probably start Ayling in most of those fixtures. So yeah, for him to get a goal, if people want to start bringing him in now when he gets a price rise, I'm going to be fairly happy with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a good 4.5 to have. I also own Bamford, and he obviously didn't do particularly well in the game, but I don't think that's really his fault, more of a team problem.
Yeah, agreed.
He got took off, but thankfully a little bit later in the game.
Yeah.
Not before.
Yeah, it wasn't 58th minute or anything, was it? It was he got his 2 points. So.
No, and to be honest, we don't expect him to get points against Man United. There's a chance, of course there is, but yeah, we'll see how he gets on in the games to come.
Yeah, agreed. I'm fully expecting him to return. I'd be surprised if he doesn't score at least 5 in the next 9 weeks. So, fingers crossed. Moving on then to a game that I found very difficult to call to start with, and obviously looks that way anyway. It ended up being Burnley 1, Brighton 2.
Yeah, I also found it a bit of a tricky one to call. I think I thought it would be a draw. Um, with this one, I think Burnley come from behind. Brighton came from behind, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Yeah, obviously Burnley got that first goal with Tarkowski. For me, it's a foul on Mope. I think Tarkowski's running at Mope. He tries to block him. And I know, players blocking and not looking at the ball annoys people. But no, I think, to use two hands in the box and push the lad over, it's a foul. And it annoyed me because obviously I've got Sanchez in goal. So for for Burnley to get that goal after 3 minutes, absolutely killed my Brighton clean sheet. Pissed me right off.
Very deflating, and yeah, I mean a lot of us have gone on him. But,
Yeah.
obviously Martinez is the main alternative that people have been
Yeah.
sort of getting on, and obviously we'll come to that later. But no clean sheet for him either.
No, not at all. But I thought Brighton looked largely impressive, particularly in the second half when they made changes. They obviously brought McAllister and Moder on. McAllister scored and Moder got an assist. So I think those changes really changed the game. And the way Brighton came out in the second half and kind of took the game to Burnley impressed me. And for once, Brighton actually come back, win a game, and probably win a game that they maybe didn't deserve to win from the first half performance. So that can only bode well for the season.
Yeah, maybe they're actually going to perform in line with their stats.
Yeah, and the other thing that took me by surprise was obviously Veltman missed out. I think it was he got pinged, the old pingdemic. But Shane Duffy obviously played at 4 million. Whether he keeps that spot, honestly not sure. But yeah, he's 4 million. Shane Duffy is 4 million. Obviously, what was it, Celtic last season? Came back. Not many people expected him to get anything. A shout-in for this Brighton team. He's thrown in because they needed him. And from what I've seen online, and obviously looking at bonus as well, he was probably Brighton's best player. Everyone was saying he was incredibly impressive. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe start again this weekend, at home to Watford.
To be honest, I hate him. Triple captained him.
Yeah.
A lot of people triple captained him.
Yeah.
2 fixtures, thinking he was going to score, and no clean sheets. Absolutely horrific.
Absolutely nothing. Wasn't it? He got 1 point in one game and 2 in the other, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, something like that. And I'm pretty sure he captained himself.
He did. Well. Yeah, he did. He bigged himself up. Bastard. All right. Well, enough about Brighton. Then we'll move on to the next game, and it was Chelsea 3, Crystal Palace 0.
Yeah, very solid performance from Chelsea. Myself, and I'm sure countless others that own Havertz would be pretty annoyed about this one.
Yeah.
He only came on, I think it was in the 82nd minute. This fixture was particularly tasty, as you can tell, 3-0. It would have been great for Havertz to have played. However, obviously it's very reassuring that Chelsea as a team playing well. What's quite interesting is Chalobah starting for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Been on loan at clubs like Ipswich and so on, and he came in and played very well from what I've heard, and obviously scored, which is pretty impressive to be a defender and getting a goal. Obviously,
brilliant goal.
Chelsea have got some good defenders that can score in terms of the game. Obviously Alonso scored. Pretty sure he took a free kick.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
It's just I always have doubts with their defenders as to whether they're going to be playing or rotating under Tuchel. Alonso and Chilwell get rotated.
Yeah.
Aspi and James get rotated. It's a bit of a minefield, really.
Agreed. And obviously, Chalobah there, like he played in the Super Cup, which Havertz obviously played in. I think Havertz had 120 minutes, which is why he was probably rested for this game. But yeah, Chalobah's come in. He scored. He played very well. I still don't think he's, in Chelsea's top 4 or 5 centre-back choices. If they're all fit, I fully expect it to be Thiago Silva, Rudiger, and probably Aspi is a back 3. And then obviously you've got Christensen there as well. So, yes, he played very well. But for me, looking in from the outside, I don't think he plays that often in the Premier League this season. So I wouldn't be going near him, personally. but it was brilliant to see him get a goal, and what a goal it was. And then obviously the celebration afterwards, the poor lad didn't know what to do, and he just knelt down and burst into tears. But I think it shows the strength in that Chelsea team, that everybody went to him. Like Aspilicueta was immediately there hugging him, and everybody surrounded the lad. And I guess it just shows how good, like, Tuchel has got that squad in terms of like their unit, in terms of the support that they have for one another. Because previously, under Mourinho, for instance, all we heard about was, there was like issues in the dressing room and players weren't enjoying each other. And even under Lampard to an extent, obviously there was the rumours with Rudiger. You don't really hear about any of that under Tuchel. And it almost feels like he's got that Chelsea squad to work as a unit for once. And that can only be good for this season. And obviously a player that didn't appear in this, that they have signed, is Lukaku. Add him to the mix. This Chelsea squad is going to be so difficult to beat this season.
Oh, definitely. I think, they've made signings in the right places. Very strong squad. Obviously, and the team spirit as well is amazing. I mean, I saw on the TV that I think it's Chris Sutton, Robbie Savage there tipping Chelsea to win the league.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they came up on top in the Champions League final ahead of City.
Yep.
It's just a case of doing that over the course of 38 games.
Yeah.
And so far already, they're 3 points ahead of them.
Agreed. That's the biggest issue. And I think even on Match of the Day, both Alan Shearer and Ian Wright backed Chelsea to win the league. And I think it's going to be tight. It really is. And with Lukaku there, it may well benefit the likes of Timo Werner and Havertz, because Werner isn't necessarily going to be the one through the middle. He'll be the one obviously out wide and be able to cut in. And I don't think he's going to be scrutinised as much for being the one that misses the chances that cost Chelsea games, because Lukaku is probably going to be the focus. If Lukaku can draw players in, the likes of Havertz and Werner surely only benefit from that.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think the pressure is a little bit off of Werner now, which is good for him, and that would probably allow him to perform better than he would have done anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
So that'd be interesting to see.
Exactly. And obviously, Crystal Palace, Patrick Vieira has made a lot of signings. We didn't really get to see any of them in this game. It wasn't really the performance that I think Palace fans might have expected, but to go out against Chelsea and get beat 3-0, I think a lot of teams are gonna suffer that this season. What I want to see from Palace is when they have all of their new signings fit and playing in the system that Vieira wants them to play in, only then will I properly judge the impact that he's had in this team. But for now, I don't even think they're worth discussing that much until we really get a true idea of how they're going to perform as a team.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a few game weeks for those new signings to gel, for Vieira's management to come through. So, give them time, give them, I'd say, at least 6 game weeks to see how they're gelling, how they're getting on.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, moving on to the game that no doubt put us both in a bad mood on Saturday, and that was Everton 3, Southampton 1.
Yeah, obviously fortunate to take the lead. Horrendous error on Everton's part. Stupid back pass, and then I think a defender Holgate trips over it or something happens.
Yeah, it's effectively Michael Keane dawdles on the ball and then obviously loses it to Che Adams. I think it was Holgate then completely misses it and Armstrong's through.
I mean, great finish from Armstrong.
Stunning finish.
Still had to put it away. And that's what you want to see. I think I've seen stats that he's had in the Championship last season way more shots than any other player.
Yeah.
I think he had about 180 odd, and the second place player was Ray down on about 139. So we've got someone that shoots, and there's nothing more frustrating than a striker that doesn't shoot much. So it's a great signing to have. FPL wise, 6 million is very cheap.
Yeah.
No doubt people may. This is going to have caught people's attention.
Yep, 100%.
Maybe when our fixtures turn, I think in a few weeks' time, that's when would be a good time to hop onto him. Would be a bit risky to kind of go onto him now. But after that, obviously, Everton came into the game, and it was a bit disappointing for us.
It really was. And I mean, the Saints lineup took me by surprise to start with. Obviously, we had Livramento started ahead of Carl Walker-Peters. I've looked into it, and it was a decision that Hasenhüttl made on the basis of Livramento has impressed him in pre-season, impressed him in training, and the very fact that he believed he had the skills to deal with Richarlison one-on-one. And in fairness, he managed Richarlison incredibly well. Like, obviously, Richarlison got his goal through, the ball falling in the box to him. But in terms of marking him out of the game, I thought for long periods Livramento did exceptionally well. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see him continue in that role. And it's good to see for me, because it means that Walker-Peters also has to step up his game. And yeah, we might see the odd rotation, but I was very impressed, not only from Livramento's defending, but the way he can run at people. There was times in that game where he took on 2 or 3 Everton players, got past them, and put a ball into the box. And yes, the ball into the box wasn't necessarily the best ball occasionally, but it's just good to see this young lad come in from Chelsea and really try to stamp his authority on the squad so early on.
Yeah, I'm glad we've got a bit of competition, a bit of depth, because I think last season Carl Walker-Peters was easily first choice. I don't think he really had to even worry about his place.
Nope.
Whereas now he's going to be like, oh shit, I'm not going to be starting every game.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that can only be a good thing for both of our right backs.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
the issue lies centre back and in goal, because I thought Salisu played relatively well, but there was obviously no Bednarak. Vestergaard had already gone to Leicester. I didn't think Jack Stevens had a great game. And then in goal, for me, McCarthy should still do better. And it really worries me for the season that we will continue to leak goals, having both McCarthy and Forster as our goalkeepers.
Yeah. I think we needed a centre back before Vestergaard left. And now we need 2.
Yeah,
I'd say.
I know.
I've seen we're looking at Gary Cahill, but I don't really think that's the right sign-in for us. I think he's far too old. Yeah, he's experienced. Could maybe do a job for us, but I think
it's not what we want.
Got to be looking at younger players that sort of fit in with our system. That
Agreed.
Have maybe a bit more energy, can play the ball.
Yep. As for Everton, obviously the other side of Liverpool, you've got DCL and Richarlison both returning in game week 1, and again, Calvert-Lewin was coming back from injury. Richarlison has had an incredibly busy summer. Obviously went away to the Copa America, also played in the Olympics. The very fact that this lad has managed to start game week 1 and score is unbelievable. And at times, we just struggled. And I genuinely think that they pointed out on Match of the Day and really focused on it. And it was obvious watching the game. All Everton were set out to do was to ping balls into the box. If Richarlison got down the line, or if Townsend got down the line, they were occasionally they weren't even looking up. They were just hitting it in the box and hoping DCL was there. And obviously for his goal, he was, and he got his header in front of the defender and scored. And if that is the way that Everton are going to approach games, they're going to get goals. And it means the likes of Luca Digne, for instance, if he's one of the ones pinging down the line and throwing a ball into the box, and DCL or Richarlison's on the end of it, he's going to get returns this season, if that is the way Benitez has set them up.
Yeah, it was quite interesting seeing them do that with a long throw. Obviously, Digne's on corners as well. I know, made free kicks.
Yep.
I think probably on corners as well.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Which was good to see. I own him, but I don't mind the clean sheet being smashed by us. So I think Digne owners hold on, because there's returns to come. Obviously, it's just one game.
100%.
I was fairly impressed with what I saw from Everton.
Yep, no, for sure. All right then, moving on, and it was Leicester 1, Wolves 0 in a game, to be fair, that I genuinely feel, having seen the highlights and watched some of the game, that Wolves probably could and should have got something out of.
Yeah, I think they were into this game, and it was a lot closer than people would have expected. I myself, before the game, thought Leicester would win, maybe more convincingly. But credit to Wolves, obviously new manager.
Yep.
they've done okay. New keeper as well, obviously worth mentioning. Made 4 saves. Obviously Patricio not there anymore.
Yeah, he's gone.
Good fixtures to come for Wolves from game week 4. I mean, they've got a very nice run of sort of Watford, Brentford, Saints, and Newcastle.
They do, yeah.
So I think for the next 2 weeks, it'd be good time to watch them and just see if there's anyone that's worth picking for that run.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see the likes of, say, Raul Jimenez's ownership to rocket in game week 4. And the other player, I mean, if only if he could finish, because Adama Traore had, I think it was a one-on-one chance in the game, clean through, like completely ruined the defender, and then put it wide. And there were other periods in the game when, yeah, he obviously showed his muscle. I think they just have to work on his finishing, because if they can do that, that lad has got 10, 15 goals in him a season, and that can make a big difference to Wolves. If you could get him working really well alongside Jimenez, because imagine Jimenez's flick-ons and Traore being able to get in behind the defender and actually, slot it in. That is going to make a big difference for Wolves. And yeah, I think the new manager just needs to maybe try and work on that, because if that is the case, we'll all end up having Adama Traore. He's such a tank. It's just his finishing that lets him down. And it almost reminds me of, say, like Antonio, for instance, a couple of seasons ago, when he just didn't look confident in front of goal when he was through. Whereas now you can see Antonio, we'll come on to it, clinical, like took his chance really well. Traore needed to do the same.
Yeah, I think he's very much like a muscly hench Theo Walcott.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go, you see. But obviously a player that did take his chance very well was Jamie Vardy, obviously getting off on the score sheet straight away in game week 1.
Yeah, the perennial Jamie Vardy. He's not going away.
No.
Each year we expect, maybe he's going to slow down, maybe he won't get picked as much. But straight off the bat, he scored.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, credit to him. Obviously, it's a higher price, so I think it will need a few of those before he comes into the conversation. But yeah, very good goal.
Yeah, I agree. 10.5 million still feels quite expensive, and obviously you got booked, so you only got 5 points. I thought Harvey Barnes was another player that had a very good game. Unfortunate not to get any returns, and obviously Ricardo Pereira. I mean, the skill he had to get the assist for Jamie Vardy was brilliant. Just the way he cut back, it was lovely to watch. But yeah, I am very much going to keep an eye on Leicester. I've got Harvey Barnes, but as and when they kind of their fixtures balance out, I think game week 5 might be a good period. They've got Brighton, Burnley, Palace, and Man United, but they'll follow that up with Brentford. Might be a good time to maybe at least double up or bring in a defender. So yeah, for me, I'm going to definitely keep an eye on them. Fully expect them to get goals. It's just when that Europa League phase kicks in that I worry about the rotation amongst particularly that front line, and that's always going to be at the back of my mind when it's picking Leicester frontmen.
Yeah, that's not good for your certainty when picking your players. Next up, we obviously have Watford, Aston Villa.
Yeah, Watford 3, Villa 2.
Bit of a shock, wasn't it?
Yeah, not the result that I expected at all. And obviously, Watford went 3-0 up? It was madness. Like, I was questioning what was going on with Villa. Obviously, they've lost Jack Grealish in the summer to Man City, but you wouldn't expect it to make that big a difference. And I didn't see the game live, but having seen the highlights on Match of the Day, one of the reasons for it was the fact that Ismaila Sarr was just tearing Matty Targett a new one in the first half. And obviously he got hooked after 45 minutes, but man, he just could not cope with Sarr on that right-hand side.
No, and to be fair to him, I think there's going to be a couple more players that are going to sort of have the same fate.
Yeah.
I mean, Watford against... Let's keep slagging us off. But when Sarr comes up against like sort of our fullbacks, maybe he'll give them a torrid time.
Yeah, quite possibly. Brilliant player.
Hopefully we'll put Livramento up against him, give him a good game.
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
But no, yeah, very, very, very impressed with Watford, and surprised. So, I mean, let's be honest, I've never heard of Dennis before.
Nope.
Before this game.
Nope, neither have I. 5 million forwards.
a goal and an assist.
Yeah.
He's one of their forwards. Obviously, they got about 15 in the game.
Yeah.
So it was tricky figuring out which ones were going to start. But obviously, he's played, as has Cucho,
Yep.
who also scored. I mean, very positive start. And obviously, we and many others were tipping Villa to do well based on their signings. And I guess, their signings have returned in this game.
Yeah.
You've got a pen from Ings and an assist off the bench for Bailey.
It was lovely assist.
Yeah, which is some positives for Villa.
Yeah.
But the fact that they conceded 3 in the first place is, I think, what Dean Smith's going to be focusing on.
Yeah, agreed. And those that started with Villa assets, I started with Danny Ings. I know a lot of people have started with Buendia. The reason that the reason that we did so is for this first 3 set of games. We thought, lovely fixtures. Villa have got a very good team, fully expecting to get returns. After that, game week 4 to game week 7, looks tough on paper. It's Chelsea, Everton, Man United, Spurs. I don't know if I'm going to be holding their assets from that period, but I was kind of hoping that we'd maybe get a few more returns, and fingers crossed in the next 2 games we do, because the likes of Danny Ings, I think, will really benefit when you've got Watkins, Bailey and Buendia all on the pitch at the same time around him, because then that is when we'll see what Villa set out to achieve. Obviously, they sold Jack Grealish, and they said that they wanted 3 players in to, make up the difference in 3 solid, good forward players. They got them. They got Bailey, they got Buendia, and they got Danny Ings. What we want to see is all of them on the pitch at the same time. So, fingers crossed we can see that in the next game.
Hopefully they bounce back. That's all we can hope for.
Agreed. Right, moving on then. It was the Saturday night game, essentially. It was Norwich 0, Liverpool 3.
Yeah, very convincing display from Liverpool. Very happy, to be honest, that Salah put in this performance after what Bruno did.
Yep.
Obviously, the majority of Twitter, FPL, whoever's playing the game, will have captained Salah.
Yeah.
So, it's great to see the return, a goal, 2 assists for him. Obviously, Smeekas started as expected alongside James Milner.
Yeah, Milner was in midfield.
Yeah. I don't mean literally alongside. in the same.
Yeah.
Milner's not a centre back.
He could well be. He's played everywhere else.
I listened to this game on the radio, and it sounded like he had a fairly good game.
He did.
Obviously, Smeekas being the new boy, they love talking about him on the radio. But for value for money, he's already up to 4.1 million.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, probably either made sense to start the season with him or not have him at all, because I think those 6 points are gone now for that clean sheet.
Yeah.
And you're getting closer to the point where Robertson will potentially come back.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Fair play to those that are on him, but I wouldn't say panic and try and get him in just for the sake of it.
No, he did it. He had a very good game, and he looked more offensive than Trent on the other side, which was interesting. He was putting in a lot more crosses. I think the other benefit for Liverpool was the fact that they had Van Dijk fit.
Big benefit.
Yeah, huge. He was commanding, and I think it's great for Alisson to see that he had both Van Dijk and Matip in front of him, which makes a big difference. And he said himself at the end of the game, it's almost like he's got that safety net in front of him, and that's what they need, because they were leaking goals last season. If they can get clean sheets, and this is what we spoke about in pre-season, we said Liverpool need to be winning these kind of games and winning them comfortably, and Mo Salah needs to be scoring in these kind of games and getting multiple returns. They did so. They did what they needed to do. They put Norwich to bed, and they move on to the next one.
Yeah, and it's great that they've got Van Dijk back, because before, obviously, they were having like Henderson fill in at centre back, and that's just obviously no comparison to having Van Dijk at the back.
Exactly, and to have this rotatable front 3, front 4 now, obviously Jota is a real option. He obviously came off, Firmino came on, Firmino got his goal. I think Mane was the only one out of that front 4 not to get a return, and that can only be positive moving forward, obviously between cup competitions, Champions League. they're going to need all four of them fit and firing. So to kick off the season in the way they did, it was really, really well done. As for Norwich, I didn't think they were particularly great, personally. I won't be going near any of them. I did see a rumour that Man United, Brendan
Williams.
Brendan Williams sounds like he might be going to Norwich on loan, but it was just a rumour that I seen before we started pod, so worth keeping an eye on. Again, 4 million. If he goes there, he'll be playing every game, I fully expect. But yeah, even the likes of Pookie, I don't think you'll be looking at, given the options that are available in similar price brackets.
Yeah, exactly. This went very much how I expected, to be honest.
Yeah. Right, moving on to the Sunday then, and the final two games. The first game took me by surprise. It was Newcastle 2, West Ham 4.
Yeah, a bit of a thriller. Yeah, not particularly good for me in FPL. Only owning Kufal. I did think about Benrahma. There was a lot of talk about Benrahma.
Oh, James.
He's only 6 million, and yeah, great performance. Obviously, he's been playing sort of in the cam role, sort of centre attacking midfielder, and a goal and an assist for him. So very good performance for him. Obviously, Antonio in a lot of teams got a goal and 2 assists. That's very impressive.
And his pen miss.
And his pen miss, of course. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Bit of a roller coaster for Antonio in this game.
Oh, it was, yeah. The irony is, before the penalty, it would have been a header from Kufal's cross, which he then put against the post. The ball then obviously rebounds around the box. They win the pen. He misses the pen, and then they get the goal from, I think it was it Fornals? No, Souček obviously came in, scored the rebound from the pen, which means that Antonio got the assist. So he went from scoring to winning a pen to missing the pen to getting an assist. It was madness, all in the space of 2 minutes. Yeah, I was like jubilant because I thought he had scored, and then fuming because he had missed the pen, and then pretty happy because he got the assist. But thankfully, I own both Antonio and Benrahma.
I know you do.
It was something that I was kind of adamant I wanted from the start. I was really impressed with seeing Benrahma in pre-season, and I always wanted to start with 3 pretty good forwards. So Antonio for me was always going to be one of them, and I've benefited in this game. Newcastle, however, I was also pretty impressed with. Obviously, Saint-Maximin got an assist. Callum Wilson, with a lot of people speaking about him at the start of the season, he got his goal. They've obviously signed Willock from Arsenal. I think he'll only improve them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Newcastle scoring quite a few goals this season. It's just at the back that I think they can be a little bit hit and miss, very much like Saints.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the options that you want to be looking at are the midfielders and attackers, if you are looking at them.
Yeah, completely. All right then. Well, moving on to the final game then, and this was a shock, but if you look at the stats, it probably shouldn't be, because City have failed to win there in each of the 4 games that they've gone to Spurs' new place, and it was Spurs 1, Man City 0.
Yeah, they've got a bit of a hoodoo at that ground, but yeah, very good performance from Spurs. Obviously, without Harry Kane.
Yep.
It's kind of weird. Son was kind of winning the balls in the air as if he was Harry Kane.
I know, yeah, but there was no one to run on.
No one to run onto them. But, Spurs play very well. Son looked pretty dangerous.
He did.
I mean, his goal was fantastic. He was quite far out, took the shot, curled it into the corner. Very happy with that as an owner. Actually didn't really expect anything from this game. This was kind of like, first game City, but then that's out of the way. 10 million, obviously on pens if Harry Kane isn't on the pitch.
Yep.
And also, if Harry Kane's not on the pitch, a lot of stuff's going to be going through him, maybe more so than if Kane was on the pitch.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, fantastic performance from Spurs. On City side, Grealish was a bit anonymous / almost lost.
At times, yeah, it felt that way. And I think it was the way Man City, their lineup, I mean, obviously you're playing Mendy, you're playing Ake, they're not players I expect to see in that Man City lineup often this season, and the goal came from target in that area. Son took it brilliantly well, as you said, but yeah, Man City just didn't seem to gel, and it wasn't until say like De Bruyne came on in this towards the end of the second half that they tried to click into gear a little bit better. But man, if there was a game where they needed someone like Kane to at least hold the ball up and whatnot, or try and build a play around it, it was probably this one, because they really struggled to break Spurs down. And I thought particularly say Tanganga, he was going into like Sterling as soon as Sterling or like Grealish or Torres won the ball, he was there and he was on them. And there was a few times that he was probably spoken to and said, look, if you do that again, you're going to get booked. But it really shook Man City up. And even like the likes of Mahrez didn't think he had a particularly great game. Don't get me wrong, this City team will tear some teams apart. It just wasn't their day-to-day. But as we know from last season, they started very slowly again last season, built, and then, breezed the league. And I think if they do get Harry Kane, and it's still an ongoing saga, if they do, I think they'll walk the league again. If they don't, they've got problems, in my opinion.
Yeah, very, very short up top without a new signing like Kane. I think it needs to happen.
Agreed, yeah. Right, do you want to quickly touch on the points that you got this game week?
Not really, no. I'll quickly go through it. 70 points. The only people that really showed up for me were Salah, Van Dijk, Son and Ings. The rest of them was a bit unfortunate. Yeah. Havertz, Kufal and so on. But yeah, it's only 1 week.
Exactly.
So I was 70 points is a bit disappointing.
I was going to say, I wouldn't. I mean, you're a point ahead of the average, so that's a thing. But yeah, bloody, there's 37 game weeks to go, a load of chips. Things are going to change. I wouldn't worry. I was part of the 100 club this week. I mean, it took me, I think it was like 30 game weeks last season to do it. To get it in the first game week, very happy. Got 106. It was mainly, Liverpool, block defence, Tsimikas and Trent. Salah obviously coming home with the returns, Bruno, Benrahma, and then Antonio and Ings up top. 20 points between them, so I can't complain. Shall we then look ahead briefly to next week? And are there any fixtures that you think stand out in terms of players that we could be targeting, or games that we should be targeting?
Yeah, obviously the one you're looking at is Man City at home to Norwich.
Yeah.
Potentially, you could bring in someone just for that week, be it Ferran Torres, even Sterling if you're feeling brave. KDB obviously came on in the game. Maybe he'll start against Norwich.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the standout in terms of captaincy is obviously Mo Salah at home to Burnley, or Bruno away at Saints.
Agreed, yeah. Man City is the game that I'm worried about because I don't own any of their assets. And honestly, I don't want to punt on one either. I know quite a few people have, say, got Mahrez or GW1 who, picked up a knock. We don't know at the time of recording the extent of that shoulder injury, but if he's out, who do people move on to? I don't want to be bringing in a Man City midfielder at the moment who might not even play, because I don't have a clue if, say, after that performance, that Mahrez isn't benched and, say, Bernardo Silva gets a game or De Bruyne comes in and whatnot. So if I was going to, I'd maybe look at it defensively. Someone like João Cancelo, you expect probably Stones and Diaz to be the partnership this week. If you wanted maybe that clean sheet with the potential of a defensive attack in return, sure. But it just feels wrong, in my opinion, to be punting on City. I know I banged on about pre-season Ferran Torres. I thought he played well against Spurs, but again, I'm not sure I'd be taking that punt, given if they haven't scored after, say, 50, 60 minutes, which is unlikely, but if they haven't, he's probably one of the first ones to be taken off at that point. So, yeah, I'm not going to risk it. And again, I think with you, it's either Bruno or Salah. For me, I'm probably edging towards Mo Salah as captaincy, having owned both, because of the home fixture. That's the only thing. It's the first time all of the cop are going to be there, as well as obviously the entirety of Anfield. I think it's going to make a big difference. Seeing Burnley concede those 2 goals against Brighton, I think Liverpool could quite easily get in behind. And Mo Salah looks like he needs it and wants it. So yeah, I'll be going there. In terms of your captaincy, I'm presuming Salah, given you don't own Bruno.
Yeah, definitely Salah. It's kind of very straightforward for me, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah.
If there was a player or a team in that you were batshit crazy enough not to pick Salah or Bruno, is there anyone in particular you would target? Obviously, we've mentioned City, but is there anyone else?
I would perhaps be tempted to even captain a Chelsea player.
Against Arsenal?
Against Arsenal, if Havertz is to start, or even...
Mate, if Lukaku is starting that game...
Oh, yeah.
Against... I mean, we saw how much Ivan Toney bullied Ben White in Mari. If Lukaku comes into that, he's a whole different ballgame. I can see him getting returns if he starts.
I think so.
The only other player I'd maybe state would be Danny Ings, maybe against Newcastle.
I was going to say Danny Ings, yeah.
So after conceding 4, Villa hopefully have everyone fit for the weekend. Yeah, I think Danny Ings could be an option. All right then. Well, I think that draws the pod to a close then. I really hope people have enjoyed it. Thoroughly looking forward to the next one. And fingers crossed, the game week is just as explosive as the last one. So, all things in order, I think it's a goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Cheers, guys.